been 18 months since we first started on this journey with Turo back Memorial Day weekend of 2022, and now I am wrapping it up. Just sold the Macan a few weeks ago, and so I wanted to make this video to just recap what the whole experience has been like. If this is something you are considering, if you're evaluating different side hustles, if you had a car sitting around, just wanted to share my experience. I know it's been a while since I posted a video really sharing my journey on Turo. It's been a little bit hectic, so to say. There's been a couple bumps in the road, but let's get into it. That's what we're here for. Bye. Sold the Macan a few weeks ago. Process of selling the Macan was pretty straightforward with Carvana. I will say, going forward, I don't know if I could sell a car to a dealership instead of Carvana. The process was super seamless. The car had a bunch of like bruises, like little dents, nothing major, but they just took the car and just paid me out for it, gave me the best offer that I could get. Showed up one day, put it on a trailer, and then off it was. And that kind of closed out the journey for me and Turo. Now I still have the Tesla Model Y, and I'll put the Tesla Model Y up there. Still, if somebody is looking to pay a decent amount for it, but for the most part, that is now going to be my wife's primary car, and then I'll just be driving my Supra. So we went from 4 cars. We had the Mazda, we had the Tesla, we had the Macan and the Supra, and now we went down to 2 cars. Sold both the Mazda and the Macan on Carvana. Again, great experience selling to them. This is not a sponsored video or anything like that. But yeah, now that the Macan is gone, I think it's time to talk a little bit about the negatives that I've experienced with Turo over the past year or so. So selling the Macan, I had to take a loss. The car had crossed 50,000 miles, and I think once a car gets over 45-ish thousand miles is when cars really start to take a hit. Also, just speaking in terms of just macroeconomic climate right now, where we are is that cars are losing value quite a lot. So that didn't help my case. Also considering I bought the car in 2022 when the market was a little bit higher than it should have been, didn't help either. So I had to take a pretty significant loss on the car. But it's kind of offset by some of the tax write-offs that we'll be able to get, because it was used as a business car, and then also some of the income that was made through Turo. But yeah, it was a pretty big blow, and really looking back on it, I mean, I'm kind of ashamed to say, but if I take up all the time that I spent into Turo, all the costs incurred, even though I made $30,000 in revenue for 17 months, I feel like if I would have spent that time working at somewhere kind of decent, like In and Out, I potentially could have made more money. Now it would have been as fun, right? Because I wouldn't have had these nice cars to play around with, and I wouldn't have been able to set my own schedule and things. But it is pretty tough, this rental car business. So why did I stop? Overall, just the demand for rental cars has been really stifled. Even when inflation was kind of spiking maybe 9 or 12 months ago, rental cars are one of the first things to drop in value. And now looking at where we are, a lot of people just don't really rent more so luxury cars. The Macan is, it's still somewhat of a premium rental. It's not a super fancy car, but if you could get a RAV4 for a lot cheaper, people are going to do that. In order to make a profit on a Macan, it really needs to be rented out for $120 a day on the weekends. I'm willing to cut rates, Monday through Thursday, but weekends, if it's not making $120, we're starting to move backwards. And unfortunately, a couple weeks before I sold the Macan, Turo recommended that I rent the car out for $73 on the weekend just to get it out. Now Turo is very conservative with their estimates, but I've never seen $73 on a weekend in November. If it were January or one of the really slow months, I could see that. But November, people are still traveling, and yeah, seeing $73 was kind of a big signal. And so not being able to make that profit means that you're constantly just going backwards, because even if you rent your car out for, let's say, $80 on a weekend, people are putting miles on your car. The more miles go on your car, the more depreciation is coming in. Then you need to do big services. You need to account for the amount that you're going to lose whenever you resell the car. So you're kind of going backwards. So I think a big lesson that I would share is that it's better to get out early than late. I think I could have sold my car a little bit sooner, maybe before it was to 45,000, and before we got into this really slower season, even though it should be hot. And then I would have been able to save maybe a couple $1,000s, but I still sold it right before doing the 50,000 mile service. I mean, the car still needed new tires on it, or was going to be due for new tires really soon. And I sold it before January. January and February are like really the lowest seasons on Turo. And so it would have been really tough to hold on to the car there. Another nugget that kind of made me glad that I sold the car when I did is the fact that Metromile is no longer partnering with Turo. So Metromile is an insurance company that will only charge you based on the miles that you drive the car. But now that they lost their partnership with Turo, it means that I would have had to go either just with some other company, or would have to pay for the miles that clients are driving on the car. And that would have significantly increased my insurance costs, because while during Turo, I barely drove these cars. The Macan, I would rarely drive it, so I'd be paying maybe like $60 a month on insurance because I wouldn't be charged when a guest was driving it. But now if I have to pay $120 a month on insurance on the Macan, and I'm still not driving it, that's an extra cost that just tacks on, and you multiply that by 2 cars, and it's just almost gives me a headache right now. Another big reason, I would say reason number 2 to kind of move on from the Turo business is going to be just time spent. Really, time on Turo really creeps up on you, because if you were to just ask me when I first started, how long does it take? I'll be like, oh, it's really just 2 hours a week. You got to prep the car, drop it off, and then you got to pick it up and bring it back home. However, it starts to toll up the deeper you get into it. Big thing with Turo, people typically rent the cars out on the weekends. So that's Friday to Sunday. They want to pick the car up at the airport. That's like the big thing. I could just rarely get people to come to my house and pick up the car. They always want it delivered. You have to go to the airport. You have to come home after you drop the car off. And so a lot of times I would take Lyft, and Lyft would cost me $20 to $30 or $20 to $35 to come home. And that would really eat up into the rental cost. So then I started taking a bus, but then the bus is like an hour to an hour and a half because you have to wait for the bus. And then just to get home was a big tax. And then it's the same for when you got to go pick the car up. And then this is on the weekends. And weekends, most of the time you're like, yeah, let's do this, let's get this money. But a lot of times, somebody invites you out to dinner, or somebody's having an event or a baby shower or this or that. But then you have to drop the car off. And so, yeah, you could drop the car off earlier and put it in the parking lot, but then you're going to have to pay for the parking. And then vice versa with the pickup. You want to do something Sunday evening, or maybe the guest drops it back Saturday night. You want to do something, and it just cuts into it. And you always find yourself kind of going into the airport. On top of that, you add on the claims. Things are going to happen to your car. A lot of times I will say guests were very straightforward. They admitted to their wrongdoing and things got fixed. Sometimes they didn't. So then, things got to get escalated with Turo. You got to get on the phone with customer service. You got to get on the phone with their insurance. You got to find a shop. You got to make sure the shop is available. You got to drive to the shop. All this just really adds up. And your time is worth money. Even if you don't have a way to make money with that time, that amount of time that you can have to just chill or just do whatever you want or be creative in some other fashion is extremely valuable. And so I started to really notice that towards the end. Third reason why I decided to move on is really just long-term vision. I just didn't really see this panning out long-term, and I'm in a firm belief that businesses don't remain stable. Either they decline or they go up. And in order to really go up in a Turo business, I think you really have to put in the effort. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but I believe that there is ways to make, renting cars profitable, right? I don't think just the whole rental car thing is just doomed from the jump. But I just think it's not for me. So as I think about kind of what's coming up for me in the new year, we're expecting our first child, and then we might be relocating, and there's a lot of things kind of just up in the air. And I really only saw Turo as a side income thing. I never got into it to make it my main occupation. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of being an entrepreneur and having my own business. But I never would want to be in the rental car business full time. If I could learn something from Turo and then apply that to my next business, that's kind of what more so I was aiming for. But for the most part, just long-term vision for me wasn't there. I didn't see myself being a rental car tycoon or anything like that. And since I don't have that vision and we're not making money, I decided to step away. Now, the rental car industry is ruthless, but I do think that if you are doing this right now, you're considering doing this, I think there is a path for it. I know that there are people that are making money despite the macroeconomic trends and things kind of slowing down. I think there is a way to make money. And so what I think really is the best kind of route is, one, you have to be able to graduate from Turo. So doing private rentals, which I've done a couple times, where you earn a lot more and you don't have to give a cut to the middleman. Turo in this particular instance is a lot more lucrative. You just make more income. And so what's better to run a business than to make more income? Another big thing is going to be selling add-ons. So I remember watching a video about these guys that were renting like RAV4s and Tacomas and things like that, really for campers. So people that were traveling to Denver, or even here in the Bay Area that are traveling to the Bay Area and want to go to Tahoe, and they want to go camping, they want to go overlanding and things like that. Being able to charge for camping bags, sleeping bags, coolers and things like that, there's a lot more opportunity there. And really, if you can solidify your niche as just really that company to go to for rental or experienced travelers, I think you can really succeed there. And then lastly, I think there's also the idea of just growing it out, and more so than being just a Turo business, just having more so of a presence online. A lot of people that do, for example, they'll do classes, they'll do YouTube content and things like that, and they just really diversify their revenue stream and use kind of Turo as that catalyst to bring in eyeballs and, have like flashy cars or cars with cool wraps. I think there's an avenue there to be profitable and to kind of do it more so long term. So if you put in the work, I think there's an opportunity within the Turo market. But if you're just doing it as like a side thing, you just want to buy a car and then just put it on there and assume that it's passive income, it's just not gonna work. Not gonna work. So those are really my observations for the last 18 months. Like I said, about $30,000 in revenue. Learned a lot from it. Would I do it again? I mean, I'm not going to say that, it was a regret doing the whole thing. I will say it was really painful in the end, just having your car not go out. Big thing I forgot to mention on one of the dislikes of Turo is if you want to go on vacation, you miss out. So if you go on vacation 2 weeks out of the year and you barely go on vacation, then this could be good for you. But if you want to take more time on vacation, you go on vacation, your car is not rented out, and you automatically, you're down 25% for that month if you miss that weekend. So now the next 3 weeks, you better hope your car goes out for a decent amount. And if another week your car doesn't go out, now you only got paid for half the month, and now you're behind on everything. Happened to us when we went to Hawaii for about a week. It was really brutal. I had times in the past where I could have somebody help out and kind of do the deliveries, and so that was great. But you're still that business owner. All of the responsibilities fall in on you. So even though you might have somebody that's going to help you out, things happen, right, with the rental business, or they might not be as familiar as to kind of the ins and outs of Turo. You're still going to have to be responsible for that. And so yeah, I love going on vacations, and I hate that when I go on vacation I have to worry about this and get nicked. So yeah. All right, well, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment description. Really appreciate you following along in this journey. Definitely learned a lot, and look forward to seeing kind of what's next. What's going to be the next maybe passive source of income or side source of income that I'm going to be able to find. So I definitely love doing kind of a lot of these side things. So I'll try to find something new, and I'll keep you posted then. All right, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Peace.